What is up, guys? It's just Rick here, and today we're going to be talking about some PvP terms or lingo that are tossed around on C9. But before I start, I want to give a bit of a glossary of general terms I may use throughout the guide, and I don't want to spend too much time explaining them. Instead, I'm going to be focusing on C9 exclusive terms, and those I think are most important to know. But without further ado, let's jump right into it. Frames of animation can simply be considered as short snippets of time. So in the case of C9, these so-called frames are associated with some of the skills that you use, though not all of them have these special frames. When they do, however, they can come in 3 different flavors: red, white, and blue. You can see just what type of frames a skill has by carefully looking at the outline of character when a skill is used. Red frames are your super armor frames. Super armor is a fancy way of saying that your character cannot be interrupted during the frames. That is, you will attempt to complete your skill animation despite being hit. This makes skills that have this type of frame very powerful, though be careful, you still take the full damage of attacks and can still be grabbed during these frames. Some classes like the Guardian have buffs that can activate these frames for a short duration of time. Blue frames are what are known as semi-super armor frames. Not very many skills have these types of frames, but they act kind of like super armor frames in that they can be abused to take through some attacks. However, it's not so clean cut as to what skills it will work against. As a general rule, if the attack looks weak, like this poison dart for instance, it might work. Sorry guys, but that's just the best I can do. Now, white frames are what I get asked about the most and are probably the easiest to explain. They are known as invincibility frames, or I-frames for short, and do exactly what they say: make you invincible. During this time, you take no damage from any source and can literally pass through attacks, also making it one of the only ways to effectively dodge a grab. Now, these frames may seem broken, but it is compensated by the fact that they are often extremely short and thus require a great deal of timing to pull off correctly. Now that you have a general idea about frames, let's take a look at how your attacks affect your opponents when you connect with them. I use the word trajectory to describe that phenomenon, and basically one of 4 things could happen. A regular hit stun occurs when you hit with a basic attack or a skill that isn't one of the following 3 trajectories. The character merely reacts to the blow of the hit and is temporarily staggered by it. This small feature of the game is extremely important. However, this isn't the time or place to talk about it. Check the combo section of the UG guide for more information. A launcher is a fighting game term that is used for skills that put an opponent into the juggle state. In other words, that is a skill that is used to set up aerial combos. It's important to take note as to which skills have this sort of trajectory for your character, as often they are designed to be used as an initiator. Again, more on that subject in the combo section of the UG guide. A stun skill puts your opponent into a sort of paralyzed state in which they will not be able to perform any actions until the stun wears off. And so yes, that also includes evasions. Stuns can also be linked into each other to create what are known as stun combos, and because of these properties make it one of the best methods for accruing unescapable damage. Note, however, that stuns only work on opponents who are standing on their feet, otherwise they merely act as regular hit stuns. A knockdown, as the name suggests, knocks your opponent down to the ground. This implies that you generally will not be able to combo off of it. However, C9 also has a pretty great evasion system, which I will mention shortly, and knockdowns play a huge role in starting combos by constantly knocking down your opponent. So far, I've talked about some of the offensive turns and properties to your skills. So now let's look at some of your defensive capabilities. These are quite possibly the most important features to the game, so it's absolutely paramount that you walk away understanding these. The standing evasion, as the name suggests, can only be used while standing up on the ground. You can activate it by simultaneously striking the left and right mouse buttons when you are hit with a hit stun attack or a very select few launchers. Doing so will shut off your attacker with a large 360-degree knockdown attack. Because of this extremely limited usage, I cannot stress enough the importance of abusing this evasion whenever possible. The evasive dash is the most versatile and important evasive in the game, and can be performed by initiating a roll while you are being hit. It can be used to get out of any combo that isn't a stun, and so yes, it becomes the only measure designed to escape those aerial combos. Because of this, it is of the utmost importance not to waste this evasive unless absolutely necessary. This one evasive generally dictates the flow of battle, as most classes are completely defenseless if they are caught again while it's on cooldown. We aren't done there though. Getting out of combos may simply mean avoiding one in the first place, and in C9 that means being smart with how you get up from the ground. There are generally two ways to get up from the ground, and both of them are skills with their own cooldown. I haven't listed it here, but if you wait long enough on the ground, your character will eventually lazily pick themselves up. You're safe when that happens as you get plenty of iframes afterwards, but of course you're helplessly defenseless while you're waiting for that to happen. The quick get up, as the name implies, is used to quickly pop back up from a knockdown. This move is extremely safe to use because again it comes with a few iframes. This skill can be done by moving in any of the 4 movement directions while on the ground. Although its cooldown is relatively short, don't forget that it is still a skill and you won't be able to use it while it's on cooldown. The get up or rising attack is basically a circular swing that your character performs while standing up and can be done by performing a basic attack while on the ground. This swing animation is dependent on the character, but generally it will mean a knockdown for enemies within range. This skill is the fastest way to get back onto your feet, as it can only be casted even faster than the quick get up. However, the drawback is that it suffers by having little to no frames whatsoever, and usually comes with an extreme aftercast delay, which basically means you're gonna get punished if an opponent is expecting it. Lastly, and very briefly, I want to mention some other properties that skills may have that are important to know. Take note as to what properties your skills have to capitalize on every one properly. Please note that these icons are the ones that will be used throughout the guide, but they do not represent the same things in game. A grab, as the name suggests, attempts to grab the opponent. This can break all skill animations and frames that aren't white. A buff is an increase of some kind to your attributes on your character and can only be applied to yourself. A debuff, on the other hand, is a decrease of some kind of attribute. This can be applied to yourself from a skill or by a property of someone else's. All buffs and debuffs applied to your character will be displayed under your HP bar. The vortex or vacuum effect will inherently draw or suck in all enemies closer to your character. This has varying degree of potency and range depending on the skill. Guard break describes a skill that cannot be properly blocked against. If a block is attempted on such a skill, it will generally either cause stun or a knockdown. However, it will not do damage in those cases. A piercing hit describes a skill that goes through guard and does full damage. A ground hit can hit opponents lying down on the ground. Some skills can even cause lift to put people back into aerial combos. Finally, some skills can put your opponents into what I call a state. There are a lot of different ones, but generally they are very dangerous during the duration. They will generally be indicated as a debuff with a timer on it underneath your HP bar. If you get frozen, you'll be stuck suspended wherever you got frozen, even in midair for some free shots. The dizzy state will put the character in a comical dazed state, unable to move until it wears off. Oddly enough, you have complete super armor during it. One class in particular can silence or lock all the skills on your hotkey bar for a considerable amount of time. Note you can still cast all your command skills, even action skills that can be performed with commands. Lastly, the DOT states, or damage over time, is a property of a lot of skills that will do persistent damage to your character over time if it connects. This includes bleed and burn, and sadly, there's no real way to defend against it once it happens, as it begins to do true damage to your character. Well guys, I think I've covered just about every term I can think of used in PvP. I hope this guide has helped you, and before I go, I must dedicate a portion of this guide to those people who helped me record footage for this video. Anyway guys, thanks for watching, and I will catch you guys later.